When you're the president, you get cool guitars. Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. The Wild West Guitars is a high-end dealer located in California, and I happened to stumble upon their president's Instagram page one day when I found an incredibly cool promotional guitar that sparked this episode. But from there, I saw he had a bunch of other cool stuff posted as well as Wild West, so let's spend an episode checking these things out together. Starting with one that he just recently posted. It's his new Telecaster, and this thing is just gorgeous, especially with the matching custom shop case. So this is a Yuri Shishkov master built, but we're obviously working with some really exotic woods here. You've got pale sections, you've got ultra grainy sections that almost give you zebra wood-like vibes. But we might even have a matching fretboard wood here. I like how that has all the wood grain and matches with the center. Kind of reminds you of a Spotlight Special or something. But the neck is bound, and we don't have any pickguard on this Tele. But for some reason, it kind of works for it. Oh, and in case you missed it, you don't have a giant control plate over here too, but it looks like your layout is about the same. And our next standout feature here is it's got gold hardware. Didn't go too crazy with inlays or anything, just regular dots. But whoa, that end grain section right there is kind of cool. It looks like we got some sort of a mahogany-esque looking wood for our headstock, and then a reflective Fender Tele logo. Then, oh, interesting, the back is more traditional, it's just a whitish finish, and no skunk stripe on this one. So this is pretty cool, right? Wait till you hit it with blacklight. This is what it becomes. You've got the fluorescing wood. So his description says, it's a natural night glowing wood. Then I'm unsure if he's saying Chinese pistachio is what that wood is called, or if that's just what he's naming it due to the weird green color, but it's kind of a cool effect. If you don't have the money to custom order something like this from them, I would say your best bet would be one of the Pale Moon Telecasters, or one of the Stratocasters. We reviewed and documented one in this episode, and yeah, they had quilt tops over them too. But it gets its name from the Pale Moon ebony fretboard. Next up on his page, it looks like he owns one of the PRS Dragon Guitars. If we can believe our hashtags over here, it's from the year 2000. If I understand everything correctly, those are bragging pieces within collections, just because they're very intricate. I've got the Gibson Dragon. It's not quite on the exact same level. It's different, but I understand the pride. But to follow that up, looks like a nice 54, spec original 50s Les Paul, and then a nice cherry wrap tail. I like the aging of the finish on that one. It's a little bit darker because of the ambered clear coat. And honestly, you just don't see a lot of 54s out there in stock configuration. I'd never heard of this brand before, Tyler Guitars. Quite the interesting headstocks and paint jobs. This looks like a marble guitar, or this is like some sort of a zinc burn type thing. But holy cow, what happened to that? This looks like it started life as one of the Joe Perry Les Paul studios, but somebody routed it out for one of these crazy things. Looks like some sort of a MIDI system, and you've got your controller into the top. But that Joe Perry's something else. This photo doesn't have a lot of context for us, but it shows what happens if you use a maple neck on a Flying V, 50s style, and you don't put any headstock veneer over it. You can see the wing pieces on the headstock. Looks pretty good if you match it. Speaking of matching it, I think I found the rest of the guitar. Right beside a Carina one, looks like they just opted to make the entire body maple. That reminds me of my made-over Flying V that we had documented last year. That's a cool touch with the unbound ebony fretboard too and the block inlays. If you want something similar to that and you don't have made-to-measure money, check out one of the Flying V standards or customs. They'll get you about 80% of the way there. But hey, would you look at that? Another Tele that has the multicolor vibe going on. Now this one, they fancied up our inlays though. Engraved our bridge as well as our plate, and that looks like the herringbone binding. But okay, I see what they did now. That's a maple center, and then this piece of wood that they used just happened to have this discoloration, so they kind of built upon that. But wow, that's a Stuart. I thought for sure that was Fender Custom Shop. But he's saying the builder used Brazilian rosewood from an old piano. That's a great way to repurpose it. That's a beautiful neck with the flame maple skunk stripe. This thing's pretty sweet. Looks like it's sandblasted Fender Jim Root signature model. Reminds me of the Gibson Voodoo series. But take a look at this pair of Teles. This Antigua one's very interesting. It appears to be a vintage one, but I'm not sure if that's original finish or not. So Antigua Teles are a thing. They're actually pretty rare. But why this one stood out to me is the pickguard has aged the way that you expect because they painted them, but yet the body still retains its original color, but it's heavily checked. That's an interesting combination. And then this one's just tar stained, but still maintains a cool vibe. Speaking of cool vibes, here's a nice 56. And another nice wood grain Telecaster, but whoa, what's going on with that headstock? Okay, it's like a bird's eye maple that's been heavily stained. And yeah, that looks even better on the back. That's a nice caramelized color for a bird's eye neck. Oh, and he's got another dragon over here. When I think PRS Dragon, this is the one that comes to my mind first, mainly because it was the first design of a dragon I ever saw. But you know what? I really appreciate the simplicity of this art piece. So this looks to me like some sort of a relief carving here, but it was very realistically painted. You don't have any crazy flashy finish, just an awesome flame/quilty top. It's a pretty simplified control layout, 2 humbuckers. The inlays aren't too fancy, and then you get the fancier PRS headstock. But that's just a nice piece. I like that one. 2005 private stock. Whoa, I've never seen these things before. So it's like a Thinline Tele meets Stratocaster as far as why you have this style pickup here and why you have this larger style pickguard over top of it. But then it just gets ultra fancy. I love that green one. I don't know how I feel about the sunburst, but it's interesting that you get a real wood pickguard that's flamed and fancier knobs. But that emerald green speaks to me. But what's going on with our fretboard? Looking at this photo shows me that it's probably just like a quilty/bird's eye neck that they painted green. Similar how this has a flame neck and or fretboard. And they just put a clear coat over it. This one got the green. So when you flip over to the back, yeah, that pretty well confirms what I was thinking there. But I will say the sunburst one definitely picks up steam on the back. That's got a nice neck too. I would not mind documenting one like this. And oh cool, it looks like he also owns one of the Year of the Dog Les Pauls. I'm so glad that hunt is over. It's one of those weird 2018 guitars. You can check out that episode here. But hey, how about this for more animal guitars? He just got a straight up rattlesnake here. I think I would still choose a snake pit just over history, but that is pretty interesting. Then we got our eagle guy over here. Seems he prefers Fenders and PRSs, but there was a lone custom shop Les Paul over here. Ah, that's cool. Looks like they did the DC rust finish on the back, so it gives it that cool vibe. And maybe that's just what rust looks like on a quilt top. Usually I only ever see it on mahogany. It also looks like I had one of those Billy Gibbons SGs at one point in time. I'd like to document the original run. You can check out this episode if you need to learn about the Neiman Marcus exclusives. And then finally, the guitar that sparked this episode. He's got a Dixie Beer promotional guitar. And I don't drink, I could care less about the fretboard, but I love what they've done here. It reminds me heavily of The Mummy, except for they just kind of did the flow in a different way to make it look like an alcoholic beverage, which I just think is cool. And that's a prime example of a promo guitar that was done right. It's got a coolness factor that, in my opinion, outweighs the branding of it. Because not only do we have the cool finish, it's just a single P90 wrap tail, which is an uncommon combination. Looks like he also had one of those 2008-ish Joe Bonamassa signature lap steel style electric guitars. But since we've got some time left tonight, let's check out what else Wild West is up to. Looks like they have a new limited edition White Lightning Stratocaster. So we got one with pink paisley underneath it. We've got one with black and then all worn through, but this time Floyd Rose and double humbucker modifications. This one over here just has black underneath it with, once again, the Floyd Rose and the humbucker. I kind of like this one. The whole black with the worn away paisley is a nice look. Regular style bridge in the humbucker. This one over here does the same thing but in white, but if you prefer the Floyd Rose, this one's also there. And we got some more ebony white with red, candy apple red, more paisley, but what is that? That thing has an evil vibe. It almost looks like it's on fire rather than relicking through paint jobs. Fender did a pretty good job on that one. It almost looks like we got brass knobs. But next up we have a paisley penguin. That's a fun way to say it. I've been seeing these occasionally. I think it's because Fender owns Gretsch, so they can blend their histories together there. But if you need to learn about white penguins, you can check out my episode. But you know what? That really doesn't seem like that crazy of a price. $3,500? I figured that would have at least been $5.5. Because you go over here and you see a straight up pink paisley, but this time it's been hot rodded. It appears to be a hardtail, double white humbuckers, matching headstock. It's got some nice straight wood grain on the back of the neck though. And a back plate on a paisley. That's silly. Alright, Troglodytes, I think that's enough fun for tonight. If you're active on Instagram, feel free to follow Wild West Guitars, or you can follow their president's page, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day. And you might even enjoy this next one.